It varies. That's kind of a loosely used word.
We only have, I think, 2 teams that are currently playing, and they're not really semi-pro teams, because the difference today is you have college teams that would be equal to the old teams, but those teams had high school stars, college players, and ex-pros who came back and played in the Winter League, or after they finished their careers, they wanted to still play, didn't want to hang up their spikes. So you'd see a mix of that kind of talent on any one team.
It was just like playing in a summer program. Now you have all these programs for youth, you know, like Joe DiMaggio, American Legion and all that. And back then, it was just someplace you went and played during the summertime in the off season. And so.
Semi-pro will have kids that had played professional baseball and are no longer playing pro ball, still want to try to catch on, and they'll play in the semi-pro league. Semi-pro means that you have kids that did play professional baseball and kids that have never played professional baseball. So the college kids are amateurs. Then there's also some pro kids that have played that are still playing in the semi-pro teams. Burlingame Braves have been there. You know, they were there when I was in high school, and there were kids. A lot of my high school friends played on the Burlingame Braves after we graduated from high school, and they wanted to keep playing. There's not a lot. If you're not playing college baseball, there's not a lot of programs out there for. That's where everybody goes and plays softball, because there's no baseball programs. But some of the semi-pro teams do allow that, get kids to keep playing. And maybe some of them have aspirations. I think most of them just want to play to be playing.
I got asked to play on those later, but those were very good players, but they weren't good enough to be professional. So a semi-pro is not professional. But they were very good players, and it was a very competitive league. In fact, a lot of professional players played on those teams in the off-season. There's like Ellis Brooks in San Francisco. I never did.
Some of us, like Ernie Broglio, San Jose guy, Don Larson, the great Don Larson, he had retired that same year, and we were friends, and others, teachers, coaches that were teachers and baseball coaches. We played together for a couple of years. It's sort of like coming off of the high, you know. You know, you can't just stop. So you think you can still play, but you play a couple of years.
Like I was talking about Dennis Anderson, who was worked for the Redwood City Tribune. He sponsored us, and he paid everything out of his own pocket. We'd travel and we'd go on trips. He would take care of our rooms and things like that. So, you know, I never heard of anybody receiving any money except for maybe gas or things like that. You know?
I think it would vary in different areas. I think a lot of times the players wouldn't necessarily get paid, but you'd be covered to be competing in certain tournaments, and your costs, expenses, and such would be. You wouldn't have to rent fields. You wouldn't have to pay for transportation or just entry fees into tournaments or doubleheaders and such. It's pretty indirect pay. It's not, the pro part is, I think, more per diems for food for a trip if they go on a long weekend and play. Like we used to go to Eureka and play up there, and I honestly forget if, our pro part was I think it was more of a label.